Good morning, my friends in the AP classes. I'm going to try this again. I just went through a whole fiasco trying to upload my video to the World Civ Kids, but I think I have it now. So please bear with me as I go through chapter 12 with you. This will be our way of, just making sure that you understand the content within there. But before I get started, I just wanted to let you know how much I miss being with you, how important it is that we keep ourselves positive and comfortable in this day and age so that we don't feel stressed. I'm going to work with you as best I can. I'll do whatever I can to assist you. Apologies to seventh period. The essays will be graded today. And then we'll be able to move ourselves forward. So please make sure that you give your family all your love, that you find something good and fun to do from here and there, so that you can feel comfortable and happy within your sequestering of yourselves. Hopefully you're doing that and staying home and being healthy and following good protocol for this problem that we're having in the world today. But the other thing I wanted to say is, try to do something that you haven't done in a while, that you maybe have been wanting to do. Maybe you want to learn how to cook something new, or you want to learn how to play a song on the piano, or, read something for pleasure. I know I personally have decided that I'm going to, for the most part, try to be a healthier person. I'm doing a lot more exercise. I have a small little gym up in my room that was collecting dust up until 2 weeks ago. So now I'm back on my equipment, and my dog Barnaby helps me. We walk 3 times a day, and I get experience outside, and I can wave at neighbors, but we stay our very big distance. I call my mother every day, but I have not seen her in 2 weeks. So I'm a little upset about that. Only 2 people live. Only one person lives in this house, and that's me. And then I have Roman, and I have my dog Barnaby. So they are my company. Matter of fact, Roman woke me up with the sound of my alarm clock this morning. So even though I didn't have my alarm set, I heard it from downstairs in his cage. So I'll introduce you to him again in a little bit, but let's get started with chapter 12. Okay, let's make sure that you're in good shape. Now let's look at American Communities is all about the Lowell girls in the Massachusetts factories. So if you remember, I don't know whether they have it in this particular one or they have Samuel Slater later on. They might have him later. So I'll wait, until we get to but the textile mills are going to be brought over, and you did learn this last year in World Civ, that by Samuel Slater, but we'll talk about him later. But the girl, interesting little point is my great grandmother was a Lowell girl. She lived in Lowell, Massachusetts, and she worked in the textile mills. And so that's a little, family little addition that we can put in there. We'll get into more detail about those girls and the difficulties that they had when we get into that section of the chapter. But before the Industrial Revolution came around, people worked from home. They made, if they were an artisan, they worked, they woke up in their home, which was either at the back of the house or in the upstairs quarters, and they went to the shop, which was located in the bottom front of the house, and they started working. The wife might have been the one who would do the books for the artisan. She probably had a small garden in the back of the house that she was able to tend so that they can supplement food. They might have even had a cow or a couple of chickens in the back, but it was just a way you worked at home. If you were a farmer, your life was dictated. Your life was dictated by the seasons, by the weather. You did certain kinds of things during the summer and certain kinds of things during the winter. So you're repairing fences and doing that kind of thing in the wintertime, and you're harvesting and tending crops during the summer. Sun up to sundown, the sun kind of dictated what your life was going to be like. People in the rural communities dealt with the barter system. They just kind of traded back and forth with one another to make sure that they could get what they needed. It was most definitely a patriarchal society. Sorry, ladies. We don't come around with any power until much later. The man was the authority in the household, just like in government. The man is the authority there. The woman took care of just the household duties and the children. Men had the power. If you were a married person, oh, by the way, that's my clock in the background singing a song, so I apologize. Um, if you were a married person, and you had children, and let's say that the divorce the marriage was not working and there was a divorce, which was acceptable, but very, very rarely taken into consideration, because if there was a divorce, the husband had control and ownership, basically, of the children. So he had power in all things. In the social order, you see right there in the textbook, you had there was a very distinct social status that existed. You had not royalty, but you had the artisan, the businessmen, the wealthy merchants. They were at the top, and then you would have the workers, and then the common laborers and the yeoman farmers. They would go right down, and then the helpers on the farm, the hired workers on the farm, would be the last ones. I see my hair sticking out all over the place. Very disconcerting seeing yourself being recorded. Anyway, and then eventually we're going to have more universal white male suffrage, which is going to cause different things to happen politically, economically, with laws and all that kind of stuff. But one of the major things that was a big change in American society was transportation, easy access. As people moved more further west, they needed to be able to have access to the world around them. So, and to get back and forth to work, and to get crops and things that they might need back and forth from the city centers to the rural areas. Okay, so it's going to make it a little more difficult. Now, on page 386 in your textbook, there are some great maps, and you can see how they progressed out, how long it took to get from one place to the other in 1800. And then you fast forward to 1857, and you can see how this transportation revolution truly did revolutionize how people got back and forth to where they needed to be. Roads were very, very rural. I think we've already talked about the turnpikes and how people were controlling. Initially, the roads might have been things like logs laying next to one another. So that would indicate quite a bumpy ride. And then eventually the government will step in and help with road construction. As you remember from Madison, the roads were not, if they were only within the city or only within the state had to pay for them. But once we start to extend beyond and into interstate issues, then the federal government starts to take a hold of that. Please put a star in your notes by the National Road. That's one of the ones that goes very, very far across and into the rural areas, into the Ohio Territory, into the Illinois Territory later on. Put also a star by the Erie Canal. Now, here's where I could tell you there's a song that you can upload or you can watch on YouTube. Just type in Erie Canal song, Bruce Springsteen, and a cute little video pops up, and you can get a lot of information on what that Erie Canal was all about. It was a large 364-mile, 40 feet wide, and only like 4 feet deep of a waterway that extended from Albany to Buffalo. And it was basically a place where mules would pull barges back and forth. And in the song, you'll hear it says 16 miles on the Erie Canal, or 15 miles, I might, one of the two. And basically what that's talking about is that one mule owner would take his mule upstream 16 miles, where he would hand off the barge and the contents of the barge to another mule owner who would take it the rest of the way. And then the original mule owner would hook up going back home another barge that went in that direction. So it was a back and forth thing. Passengers were taken, goods were taken back and forth from city centers to rural areas and all along that. So 40 feet wide, 364 miles long, 83 locks. And the lock is where you would take the downhill slide. Like if you let the barge go downhill, it would be almost impossible. So basically what you do is you have a system wherein here's your river and here's your downhill. So you want to lower the level of the river here, adding water to the level of the river here so that they become even, open the gates, and the ship can go through. So it's a system that easier for me to draw than to use my hands, but I was just trying to let you see what that was all about. You would eventually, originally farmers would be doing it, but eventually it was too costly to have the farmers do it. So the Irish would go and start to work. First ship on there, put a star by that, is the Seneca Chief, which is kind of ironic because it displaces the Seneca Indians from that territory. And it makes it possible for people to switch from homespun goods to goods that they're going to be using city made. Sorry, my book just fell down. City goods. All right. So do put in the instant cities, put a star by those. Utica, Buffalo, Rochester. Those are, New York City is going to grow exponentially because of it. So those are important because as the cities grow, the way west grows too. Fulton and his steam engine. Basically, with the invention of the steam engine, the use of canals is going to start to die down, but most especially with the railroad. As soon as the railroad comes in, those canals are going to completely become obsolete. So the canal age, the canal era is also going to be quite short-lived. Okay, quite short-lived. I just had a thought in my mind. We have some access to some videos that go along with the textbook. So I think I'm going to see if I can either upload those links for you or just tell you how to access them yourself. And they go according to the chapters, so it should be pretty easy for you to, if you want to get some further information, you can click on those. Problem with the railroads was they were personal businesses. They weren't businesses that were standardized. So you'll be on one train and the train tracks are a certain amount of distance apart. And then the next train, they were more narrow. And then you get to the difficulty of having the actual trains themselves weren't standardized in how wide or narrow their wheels were. And so you had to stop, get off, get on, and until there finally is going to be standardization of the railroad tracks, which is going to make it much, much easier. My textbook is falling all over the place. I'm trying to do this in my dining room, guys. As you can see, the living room's behind me. What do we need? One of the problems that is going to happen as a result of this interconnection, especially with the waterway interconnection, is the fact that you're going to have the transportation of germs as well. So cholera, which travels through the water, is going to be able to make its way west, and it's going to really cause some serious epidemics. Put a star by the 1849 cholera outbreak in New York City. It was a really bad epidemic that pretty much devastated New York City. And eventually cholera will travel to the Western trails in the West. Okay, so with that is section 1. And I'm going to stop this and then I will start section 2 and make a separate video. Okay, see you in a little bit. Bye.